Hi, this is my knee-jerk reaction to Star Wars Episode VIII, The Last Jedi. I saw this a little bit earlier with my wife and my two little kids. They're asleep. I'm about ready to go into work and write my review to go on air, but I wanted to get this out of the way first. There are spoilers because, I mean, that's the whole point of this. No one wants a Star Wars movie spoiled before, so you probably wouldn't be watching a review, because a review is not gonna, for Star Wars, isn't gonna tell you if you're gonna go see it or not. You already know. So yeah, this movie, not what I expected. In some good ways and in some ways that I felt a little disappointed. Now, I'm not saying that this is a bad movie, because it is not. It is a very good movie. It's incredibly engaging, dramatic, but there are, my own personal expectations, things that I kind of wish I could have seen that now we're never going to get. So let's just start off at the very beginning. I think about 10 minutes into this movie, Leia's ship is blown to hell, and she's sucked out into space, and I was just shocked. I was like, holy shit, they killed her off that early. Didn't think that was gonna happen. And then she used the Force to drag herself to the ship, and she got saved. Now, I'm really torn on this, because I can see how this is a ridiculous moment. And I can see how a lot of people won't like it and say, it's silly. And I don't know if it's because Carrie Fisher passed a year ago or what, but I really dug it. I felt like a kid. It's like, oh, it's magical. She's using the Force. We've never really seen her, use the Force in a movie. So, yay, that was cool. But I can see why people wouldn't dig that. Now, one thing I really liked about this movie was how it went a little deeper with everything. And I was talking about this with a friend of mine. When Star Wars A New Hope first came out in 1977, fun, pulpy movie, pastiche of B serials, and that's all it was supposed to be. It was the most typical fairy tale put in space. But the visual effects and the music just lifted it up to what it is. But at its heart, it's a fun B movie. It's a movie for kids. But everything people really deeply love about Star Wars came with Empire. And I think watching The Last Jedi after Force Awakens, and people say Force Awakens was too much like A New Hope, and I get that, but I feel like it needed to be, because you were introducing brand new characters, and it's 30 years after the original trilogy, and 40 years, and what they needed to do was introduce this to a new audience, like my kids. When I saw my daughter, who was 6 at the time, my oldest daughter, watching The Force Awakens in the theater, and when she grabbed the lightsaber, my daughter's eyes were open, and it was magical. And it was like when Luke reached out and heard Obi-Wan and blew up the Death Star. That's her moment. That's my daughter's moment with Rey. So I can imagine this is how people felt in 1980 going into Empire. It's like, oh, we're going to get another fun, pulpy Star Wars movie. And it's a kind of dark, depressing character study, which this is. And not saying that it apes anything from Empire Strikes Back too much, because I don't think it does. There's certain beats and there's a tone that fits. But what I kind of love about Last Jedi, and what is also a little frustrating, is how it just takes the wind out of the sails of basically everything you thought was going to happen. And people's expectations. For the last 2 years, there have basically been two questions people have been debating on the internet about Force Awakens. Who are Rey's parents, and who the hell is Snoke? When they had the first pictures of Snoke leak out, it's like, oh, he's a real guy, and he's like 8 feet tall, and look, he's got a big black ring, and it's a kyber crystal. He's going to have a black lightsaber, but it's not really going to be a saber. He's going to use it for the Force, blah, blah, blah. And thousands of videos on YouTube. Rey is really a Kenobi. No, she's a reincarnated Anakin. No, she's Luke's kid. No, she's Han and Leia. And both of those things in this movie don't matter at all. We don't learn anything about Snoke. And I was not expecting him to get killed. That surprised the hell out of me. Once the lightsaber started moving, it's like, oh, they're going to try to, and he's going to block it. Something's going to happen. No, they just killed him. So doesn't matter who he wasn't, like, doesn't matter. He's dead, right? We don't know where he's from, what, like, it doesn't matter at all. And then when they revealed that Rey's parents are just two junkers, that was kind of disappointing, because I was wanting, like, no, we're brother and sister. And that's what I think everybody was kind of expecting, but no, it's just doesn't matter. Rey is her own thing. And there's even that line, you don't belong in this story, basically saying you're not a Skywalker. You're not a descendant of Anakin, so you really shouldn't be here. But again, doesn't matter, because Rey's here and she's got to do something. So that was kind of fun, but also in a way a little strangely disappointing, because part of me really wanted her to be we find out that she's the daughter of Luke and Mara Jade or something. But I think it is kind of interesting that she is just someone, which is kind of echoed at the end when you see that one kid working the stables and he walks out and the broom just goes right into his hand, which I think is kind of neat. Mark Hamill, very interesting job. Very good, very deep, but this movie is funnier than most of the other Star Wars movies, and I think that's good and bad. Good because it shows that it's not taking itself too seriously, but also I think at times it kind of undercuts some serious moments in the film. And I don't know why it was done, like when he's holding the lightsaber and just tosses it over his shoulder. Funny, but also really takes the piss out of the situation, takes the gravitas out of it. But he did a great job. Like, I'm not going to complain about any of the actors. They were all fine. My biggest problem with the movie is that I think the beginning was fantastic. The last 30, 40 minutes, incredible. But I think there's about 20 or 25 or 30 minutes in the middle you could kind of shave a lot out of, or just completely remove and not lose much. Mostly the stuff on the planet with the rich planet with the casino, right? First of all, it looked like stuff from the prequels, which kind of bugged me a little bit. But also, it felt unnecessary. If you want to say that they have to find the guy, that's fine. If it turns out they can't find the guy they need and they get Benicio del Toro's character, fine. But them letting those CGI dogs free and then that like extended chase, completely unnecessary, didn't add anything, and it looked bad, like surprisingly bad. Especially coming off of Force Awakens. Force Awakens, pretty much every visual effect was on point, and there was nothing that really broke the reality. Here, there were several moments where the reality felt kind of broken. Snoke looked great, a lot better than the first one, a lot better than Force Awakens, but those things look kind of terrible for the most part. Also, there was some compositing towards the end, like when Luke is confronting Kylo Ren. looked kind of cheesy, but nothing that broke the movie for me. Also, talking about this with my wife, the Resistance can't do anything right in this movie. Everything they do fails. Trying to leave the planet fails. Trying to escape the barrage fails. Like, everything they do backfires in some way, which is kind of neat. I definitely want to see it again because, first of all, our screening was in 3D, which I wasn't a fan of, but it was the earliest screening I could get. And the 3D was off, and I saw double vision most of the time. Also, the people in the theater were terrible, just coughing, talking, their phones were ringing. So I definitely want to see it again. I think I'm going to like it a lot more the second time. I think a lot of my initial nitpicks on this have to do with my expectations versus what I got. Also, I gotta say, I love everything with Leia in this. It felt like a great send-off for her. But Luke, by the end, he is just the coolest guy in the world. He's just when they have that shot where he's behind him, he's on the right side of the frame, and you see all the walkers and behind. That's just one of the coolest things I've ever seen. It's epic. It's mythic. I really think they nailed that. That said, my expectations were I'd see him fight, with his green lightsaber again. And now that he's dead, we're never going to see it. So that was a little disappointing, but I liked the way they took him out because he wasn't fighting, he was being a true Jedi Master and using the Force in the truest sense. That was nice. Also, great to see Puppet Yoda back. Looked kind of weird, but it looks better than, what he looked like in episodes 2 and 3. Surprised they killed Captain Phasma. That was a little odd. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. I really want to see it again. And it's hard to discuss this without someone else here to kick off of. But yeah, I think time is going to be very kind to this one. I think people are really going to put it up there in the top 2 or 3, if not the number 1. Although I don't think anyone's ever going to say Empire will be surpassed, but this is going to be a close second for a lot of people. My kid, who's almost 8 now, my oldest daughter, loved it. Absolutely loved it. Was with it 100% of the way. Youngest daughter fell asleep, but it was also past her bedtime. But yeah, I don't think this movie has as many fun, exciting moments as Force Awakens, but the moments that are there are better. So it kind of evens out. But yeah, it's a really fitting way for these characters to go out, because since they didn't kill off Leia, they're going to have to do a time jump, right? They're going to have to jump ahead like 5-10 years or something to cover that, and also to make sure they actually have a resistance built up. But I like the fact that Rey is going to be the new Luke in terms of people have seen what she can do now, and she is that legend, that myth that's going to build. So that's cool. Also, the scene with Kylo Ren and Rey, well, every scene with them is great. I love their, even though they're not on screen together, I really like their back and forth. I like the chemistry, even though they're not in the same room. But the scene where they're fighting with each other after killing Snoke, I was going crazy. My oldest daughter next to me was going crazy. Just like that. That was super cool. And yeah, like moments like that, or when Luke is staring down, most of what was left of the New Order, that was coming after them. Those moments are so good. I kind of don't care about the problems I had with the middle of the movie. That said, I really think that they could have trimmed 15 to 20 minutes completely out, and it would have been a tighter movie and a little bit better. But that's really nitpicking. This movie's great. Everyone's going to like it. I'd say 4.5 out of 5 stars.